I was living alone, and one day I was making a pot of spaghetti. And in my kitchen, I knew the kitchen needed remodeling. I had kind of a shallow sink, and I kept looking at that thing and saying, I really ought to change this sink. It's cheap, it's small, it's old. And I was cooking the spaghetti, and you have to drain it. So I have the colander in there, and I take the pot of spaghetti boiling in the water, and I dumped it into the colander, and it hit the sink, and it came back, and it was summer, and I was barefoot. And the boiling water hit one of my feet, and it ripped all the surface skin right off my foot. And I went, oh my, I've never seen like no skin and red. And I hurried, I called my doctor. I loved this doctor. He was wonderful. He had such a great sense of humor. And I told him what happened, and I said, what do I do? And there was a short pause, and he said, get a deeper sink. And I started laughing. I'm in pain, and my foot is all bloody. I was laughing, and I said, I appreciate you. He said, I'll call the emergency room. Can you drive? And I said, sure. And we went there. They fixed me up. That stayed with me for a long, long time. And I have used that in speeches that I've given when I tell people, this is something unusual. You need an unusual approach. You need to get a deeper sink. So how do we get this deeper sink? Well, the first thing I want to say is you can take an aptitude test. That doesn't mean that you like what you're good at. So I say, go ahead, take the aptitude test if you wish. But really, you need to search inside, because it's not aptitude, it's desire. So if you're going to find that, we have to create a what I call an internal mirror, and you have to hold it up to yourself, and you have to ask yourself some really serious questions. Now, you may find this kind of funny, but I separate people into three different beings. You, Vinney, you are three different beings. Bo, you are three different beings. You are a thinking being, a doing being, and a feeling being. Now, think about thinking being, I love numbers. I deal with wealth transfers, taxes. That to me is, numbers and animals are my best friends, I've always said. So I know that. A doing being, I love cooking and I love sewing. But one time somebody gave me a jacket and said, could you repair this for me? And I said, sure, I'm good at that. And I threw it in a corner. And I didn't do it. About 8 months later, he asked if he could have his jacket back. I said, okay, what was my problem? I liked it, but I couldn't do it for money because he was going to pay me. I had no desire to sew for money. I'm a great cook. I entertain and I have big parties. And somebody said, can you cater my party? And I looked at them and I said, nope. I cannot do it for money. I could write a cookbook for money.
Yeah.
So your doing being is very important to know. And then your feeling being, what do you care about? Remember I said I care about animals. I really care about animals and animal humane treatment of animals. So now, you, Vinney, if you were the person who came to me and said, how do I find my goal? That's the first thing I would tell them. Separate yourself into three beings. Divide yourself and ask yourself some good questions. And what are those good questions? I have materials and I have a list of questions. Can I?
Sure. Please.
This is what I call